Hi, my name is Alex Atolico, and this is my 2P65 video midterm. I'm going to get right started with question one, referring to the external environmental forces and how they affect sporting teams in Niagara region. So obviously the definition of these external forces are influences outside the organization that might affect the strategic process of sports marketing. And the six factors we know are competition, technology, culture and social trends, physical environment, political and legal and regulatory environment factors, demographics, and economic. I'm just going through examples of each competition. Could be something like the Hamilton Tiger Cats from Hamilton drawing people away from Niagara region, or other non-sports competition for within St. Catharines or the Niagara region that would take away for a team like, for say, the Niagara Ice Dogs. Then technology, obviously, there's like what technology exists in other sporting industries and how it can be used to enhance a game day operation for a local Niagara region team like the Ice Dogs, and how technology influences different things like advertising, stadium design, and signage. And then we got culture and social trends. Obviously, I'm going to be using the Ice Dogs throughout this one as they're my most preferred Niagara region team. Stuff like having a social awareness of your market, and obviously, sports are symbolic of societal value, which really goes into those cultural and social trends, implementing stuff like theme nights that fit the demographics and sociographics of the Niagara region. Then we got the physical environment, obviously the physical landscape for special events. That's something you got to consider. Obviously, conservation and preservation are big parts of sports. I think about like local Brock sports organizations. Obviously, if you have like an outdoor sport like golf or soccer, for instance, you're going to need to have awareness of your environment to know where and when you can play those kinds of sports. Looking at political and legal and regulatory factors, obviously there's bylaws, funding, lawsuits, regulations, sports funding being a big one. If you look at community sports organizations within Niagara, like youth sport or any provincial rowing or other sport, obviously provincial funding for sport play a big part in that as an external factor. Demographics, the student population in the Niagara region due to Brock University is a big one. So having your sports demographics, say for the Ice Dogs, appealing to the students, that would be by changing their prices or having games geared towards Brock students, and also keeping in mind the racial and gender makeup as well, how you conduct your marketing, and obviously economics, how much people are willing to spend. You gotta know the economic and societal status of the people within your region and how to price and market your product affordably. All right, moving on to question two, and we're looking at the levels of fan identification. So we got the three, which are casual spectators, moderately identified fans, and highly identified fans. I mean, a casual spectator is someone who'd watch occasionally, like the major events, like somebody who was like just started watching baseball for the Blue Jays playoff run would be someone. And then moderately, individuals who show a growing connection to a team and purchase some merchandising items, like somebody who just started watching at least 1 year, maybe they have one jersey and they watch a game once a week. And then highly identified fans, that I consider myself that for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I have multiple Leaf mitts, or probably thousands of dollars of stuff in my Leaf memorabilia collection. I watch every game. I do my own analysis and stats. And so that's someone I consider myself highly identified fan to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And one example I wanted to highlight this of a circuit attempting to increase fandom was the F1 Drive to Survive, which from talking to people who watched the show, who were like casual spectators, became moderately identified fans, and it turned a lot of moderately identified fans into highly identified fans. So just showing the success of that. All right, and now looking at sport as a source of diversion in physical activity and how it differentiates from different entertainment brands. So I've thought of these three main points about how sport differentiates from like concerts or the opera or the theater. And those were continuity, community, and unpredictability. Obviously, continuity, you go watch a movie, you watch a play, you watch it once. Maybe there's a sequel that comes out in 2 years, but you watch that one thing for one time. Whereas sports, it's a year long or season over season commitment, and it's the same people that you can build that connection with due to that continuity. And obviously, that goes the same with community. Like, you're in there with people. I mean, for instance, I was at a TFC game a couple weeks ago, and it was like people I never met, and we all had that common goal, cheering for that one team. And while that does exist with like the movies, as there's like fandom culture on the internet, you're really not experiencing that community while you're in the movie theater. But when you're in a sporting arena, you feel a part of it, and you feel that togetherness. And that also leads to my once in a lifetime factor of sports, which is the unpredictability, that when you go to a sporting event, anything can happen. and that the more unpredictable a sport, the more people will watch. As we looked at the example from the lecture of the Michael Schumacher, when he started winning every single year, races went down. But you look at something like a sport like the NHL, where the parity and the level of competition is so close that you can go to any game and anything can happen and anyone can win. And I think those three factors are what makes sports unique from different entertainment products. Now looking at question 4 and asking to conduct a SWOT analysis for the Toronto Blue Jays. So I'll just basically start off. SWOT analysis is an analysis tool that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Obviously the strengths and weaknesses are internal, while the opportunities and threats are external factors. So when thinking of the Blue Jays, I put their strength as their robust baseball staff and financial resources to make arena upgrades and have one of the highest payrolls in baseball. One of their weaknesses would be an on-field sport example. Sometimes their pitching is a little inconsistent. While I am filming this just after the ALCS series win, there was a couple times where the pitching looked a little bit inconsistent, and we'll see how that treats them down the road, but that's something that they can address internally because they have the financial resources to address it by getting better pitchers. An opportunity is to attract more fans to buy season tickets. This is opportunity breeded from within, but can affect external outcomes as they have the resources now, or through their performance, they now have opportunities to attract new fans due to their success. And obviously a threat for a lot of Canadian sports teams is the current political and economic factors that are prevalent in North America, as we see in the NHL, MLB, NBA having one team in Canada or a few teams in Canada, and most of the teams in the USA, puts a little bit of disparity given the Canadian dollar and the current political relations between the two countries. Now in question 5, we're looking at the sport industry and its unique traits, and kind of description for what makes sports unique as outlined in the lecture. And then I have the 5 things where you stress: aesthetic value, the need for affiliation, family ties, and economic value. So just a quick example for each. You stress, obviously that means the good stress, or like you feel like it's stressful, but it's like almost like that adrenaline high. And I feel that pretty much every Leafs playoffs game, where physically you don't feel great, but it's like it kind of like drives you towards, and it makes the winning that much better, which also makes it quite sad when they don't win. Next, definitely the aesthetic value. So you look at the physical products of sport. I'm a big hockey fan, and I feel like hockey is the most interesting sport and most interesting entertainment product. Just the speed, the unpredictability, the passion, the intensity just gives it that aesthetic value, which I feel is very important. Then we have the need for affiliation. I'll once again go back to my TFC game example, where I was sitting in the supporter section for the first time, celebrating with people you never met, conversing with people you never met, and that need of affiliation with the team at a common goal where you meet people there. Next is family ties. Obviously, besides hockey, I'm also a big soccer fan as well, and soccer's been in my family for generations. For my dad and my nonna, they've always watched the Italian national team. It's passed on to me to root for the Italian national team in soccer and football competitions. So just having that connection to your family through sports is something very special that you wouldn't really get in other industries. And obviously the economic value of sports, with how much revenue it generates and the prestige it generates from its vast economic resources, really puts it in different from any resources. It continues in the $1 billion of team evaluations and soon $1 trillion global industry. All right, question 6, we're looking at the pink it and shrink it phenomena. So it used to be a common way for sports just to cater to women, which obviously left a lot of fans unsatisfied. So what I've seen in recent years is that sports organizations have increased the availability of products towards women. I remember this is on the show Shark Tank. Someone pitched this to Mark Cuban, and he started implementing it for the Dallas Mavericks, and then a lot of other teams in the NBA followed suit. And so like it's not just like pink jerseys, it's like regular jerseys, theme jerseys designed for a women's cut that fit well, that aren't, just a small pink jersey. So that's come a long way. Obviously, sports organizations have started hiring a lot more women in departments like marketing to like help that marketing mix and help those like demographic segmentation of how to attract women who can provide insights on like what to better do. And obviously broaden. There's been a lot more cohesion between sports and fashion, with a lot more designer products. Obviously the Lululemon campaign that the NHL did with some of their stars last year. So just like appealing into markets or having cross branding that women would already be aware of, and like making them feel like, hey, sports is for everyone, because it is for everyone, and that having sports just marketed to men is not financially sound. And for future growth, using these segmentation factors to further target women and introduce theme nights that would appeal to more female fans, and possibly celebrity endorsements. We talked about how Shaquille O'Neal in class would appeal to certain fans, like having celebrity endorsements who have more popularity with women and bringing them in sports. Obviously, we've seen the Taylor Swift phenomena in the NFL, and for recreate a sporting environment where everyone feels safe and welcome. So that's a great way to do that. Moving on to question 7, and referring to market segmentation and how organizations use that. So I'm going to go into my examples of the 4 types of segmentation. So they got demographic, socioeconomic, psychographic, and geographic segmentation. Obviously, demographic, it means appealing to the people like by demographics, age, gender, race, and so forth. So one example I have there is the Toronto Scepters and how they use their marketing. All of their marketing is pretty much geared to getting girls and women to love hockey, feel safe in hockey, and feel like they have a place in hockey. One specific example being their Barbie partnership. I saw that at Tim Hortons by my work. The PWHL came. Some of the Canadians women's national players were there with their partnership with Barbie, and doing that cross branding is really a good way to get women and girls in sports, and that's how they're targeting their demographic. Obviously, socioeconomic exists as well. People targeting people from different classes to kind of have that image. I think of the Toronto Maple Leafs and how a lot of their efforts are geared towards corporate sponsors and the so-on-so suits that attend games that hypothetically will turn more in profit in the arena as they have more money. They're going to pay for that box. They're going to pay for that extra bottle of wine. They have the money to pay for the arena prices, and they will continue to generate revenue that makes the Leafs one of the more wealthy teams in the league. Then looking at psychographics, obviously that is more activities, interests, and opinions of fans, knowing how they think, what they want. I took a look at the Calgary Flames and their theme nights. Obviously they have East Asian Heritage Night. They've introduced, they're doing a 90s theme night. They're doing Hockey Fights Cancer. So obviously you gotta know your fan base to know that they're gonna want an East Heritage Night. Obviously there's a lot of people of East Asian heritage within Alberta, within Calgary. Obviously, Hockey Fights Cancer, that's pretty much a universal cause that everyone can get behind. And I'll also, now looking at that 90s nostalgia, a lot of the people with the purchasing power, those are their formative years. So knowing that about your audience is a good way to promote to them and make sure that they come out. And looking at geographic segmentation, I'm going to look at a team like the Buffalo Sabres, and obviously like referring to their geographic target market and how they got to use their segmentation to determine if people in Southern Ontario and the Niagara region are part of their target market, and how they can target them to come to Sabres games rather than like Leafs games or somewhere else in Southern Ontario, and using their like geographic segmentation to determine if those are the people they should be targeting. All right, and then finally, question 8, looking at sport as a diversion from everyday life and how that made an impact fan attendance. So obviously there's a lot going around in the world, but one of the way I like to see it is like sport as a diversion refers to being an isolated event separate from the world, where you can just come to a sporting event, forget about your daily life, have a good time. And obviously the Toronto Raptors, they've been doing a great job. They are just so synonymous with their brand. And then when you're at the Raptors game, you kind of just experience that. And then all the social and political issues of the world just kind of go away, and you're just there to experience that one game and have a good time. So I feel like that's a good way. Obviously sports makes a great diversion, as you just kind of enjoy the game, and that's what it's all about. And just a quick bonus question. My favorite part of this course is the unique assignments. Obviously, I thoroughly enjoyed my reflective portfolio and the video assignments we had in 2P91 with the same professor. So I am so far enjoying thinking of what to add to my reflective portfolio for this class. And I like the video midterm. I feel it's an interesting way to conduct an assignment, and I've enjoyed it so far. And my least favorite part about this class, I mean, I've really enjoyed it so far. If I had to say one thing, I have taken sports marketing classes in the past, and it's just some of the information I'm already familiar with. So, but it's obviously not a mark on the class. It's just some stuff I've already known. But yeah, all in all, really enjoyed it, and thank you.